What is up, folks, and welcome to the BJT Show, where I talk about sports, media, entertainment, and such things. I'm your host, Byron, and in this episode, we have a very special guest. He is an offensive lineman for Ohio University who just declared for the NFL draft, Shedrick Rhodes Jr. Cedric, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. And before I even get into the questions, folks, I want to say how me and Shedrick know each other. So we were actually teammates back at Eagles Landing Christian Academy back in the day. So my senior year, which was 2016, was his freshman year of high school, which, in 2016. So I only have two state rings, but I think Shed has four? Four of them. So my class should have had four, but we're not going to really get into that. It's all good. It's all good. But anyways, though, Shed, thank you for coming on. And my first question is, what was your recruitment process like back in high school at Eagles Landing Christian Academy?
Um, Recruitment was, I would say, like at the beginning, it would start off slow. Obviously, when you're in high school, you start getting those like offers and everything, like your junior year. And so you start getting excited, being able to post all that stuff, just that and the third. But I didn't really have any offers going into my junior year or anything like that. But I did take opportunities to go to pro days and get in front of coaches. Just so they can see me, see who I am. Um, and I've always passed the eye test. I was always a bigger guy than the people that are coming around. And so it started off pretty slow, but not too far going into, I want to say like right at the either going into the off season of senior year. I believe I got my first offer from Troy, and from there pretty much picked up. I had like probably over 20 offers, most of them with G5 schools. Um, Later on, like since we went to camps and all that in the summer and all the time, I performed pretty well, and I got to be in front of coaches, and they would come up to me, talk to me, like I would make the top five linemen of camps, just that and the third. And coaches would come up and talk to me and be like, we're gonna keep in touch, just that and the third, and you never really hear too much back from them. I also am a year below my class, so I'm a year younger than what I'm supposed to be, quote unquote. Um, and so, coaches would say that, they would be like, if you were in your right class, we'd offer you, this, and the third. But, they'll keep in touch. I didn't really hear too much from a lot of, the P5 schools, all those big schools that you went to go to, even though, you put it out there that you can compete with those guys that, that they offering and everything, it's a lot of politics that go into high school recruiting as well. So, but honestly, it picked up. I had a lot of G5 offers, a lot of good places to go. And I started getting a couple P5 offers towards the end, towards signing day. But honestly, I decided not to go with them because I didn't want to be anybody's second choice. And honestly, the biggest part about going to school to play is to play, to get on the field. And especially especially if you're good in the way the game is now, you can either go somewhere that's prove yourself, go somewhere, and play at that higher level that you want to. But at the end of the day, if you ball out and you do your thing, do what you're supposed to, you're gonna be found wherever you are. The most important part was for getting on the field and playing. So that's what I focused on, and the opportunity to be able to actually go to school and get a degree for free was already off the rip was just a surreal thing because not a lot of people be able to get the opportunity to do that and play a sport that they love.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you did end up going to Ohio University initially, but before I get into that, I want to ask, how was your experience just as a football player in general at Eagles Landing Christian Academy back in high school?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun to say the least. Especially, obviously we, like you said, we won four, but five in a row. So my senior year, um, getting that fifth win, that fifth state championship win, going in the history books, all over newspaper stuff like that. I can still remember vividly to this day winning that game and going to slide on the field afterwards, and being able to just enjoy that time. But honestly, it was a lot of fun. That was the place, especially with our coach, with Coach Guest, the way he ran things. We didn't know it at the time, but it for sure got you prepared for the next level. But it was all fun, like being able to go out there with the guys that pretty much grew up with, get to share the field with them. You don't really understand how fun that is and how lucky you are to have that until it's gone. And so honestly, I just had a whole lot of fun in high school football. I learned how to work hard, though. I learned that resilience and perseverance. Doing the things right, the little things right. That was ingrained in us. The techniques. We started practice the same way every time, doing the steps over the cones and this, that, and the third. And it really just put into my mind that you can do whatever you want to as long as you put the work in, the intentional work in to be able to accomplish your goals. And so I'm real thankful for high school ball. And every time I look back on it, it's just joy.
For sure. I understand that definitely. And I even joke with people a good amount when I talk about high school football. And I'm like, yeah, y'all saw that we won a lot, but it was like Alabama, but just high school
Man,
version of Alabama. Because I'm like, that's how it was pretty much.
yeah, we up there before school. We got defensive or film before school, and then we got to go through school. You got a workout class. Leave workouts, go straight to practice. We practicing for what 4 hours almost. What 3:45, 7:30. So we was out there for a while. But yeah, nah, people didn't realize like a lot of people like to. Man, they recruit, they that this, that, and the third. But like honestly, you go there, you was gonna put some work in, and you was gonna earn what you got. So like obviously, talent and everything cool, but you learn how to work at school, especially with Coach Guest as the head coach.
For sure, for sure. And now you chose Ohio University. So what went into that decision to go there to play college football?
Honestly, it was my recruiting coach. He was also my O line coach when I first came in. His name Alan Rudolph, Coach Alan Rudolph. And from the initial phone call that I had with Ohio University with him, the energy never changed. He made it very clear to me that I would be a priority to him on and off the field. That he would make sure that he invested in me um, on my on field talents, but also developing me as a man, as a person, especially in those years where you trying to figure it out. Um, and that energy never changed. Honestly, he was as much as coaches recruit and this, that, and third. He came to multiple of high school practices in November, December, those late practices where it's cold outside. He's just sitting there. He's just out there. He came to eat dinner with my family and everything while we were at home. He came to my house to eat dinner. He came to our last state game. He was there and he got food with me after. Even though he had somewhere to be, he had somebody else to go see, a flight to go catch. He still made it very obvious that I would be a priority to him, and that really made me feel comfortable to be able to go, especially to a place that's so far from home. That I would have somebody in my corner fighting for me, and fighting to give me the best experience I can on and off the field. And honestly, that was what really set Ohio apart. And honestly, when I came to campus and I saw the campus, it's a very beautiful campus. It's like a lot of the things you'll hear like Battle of the Bricks is when we play Miami of Ohio, but our school is made mostly of bricks, and it's like it's really pretty. Being able to see um that the scenery, the buildings, the nature, everything, it was pretty nice. And I just thought, and the guys that I came across, I said, hey, like this seems like a great place for me, and I made that decision. And I ain't looked back.
Yes, sir. That's what we like to hear. Now, when you got to Ohio University, was it a culture shock a little bit? Like, dang, this is college football. Or was it more so kind of like high school where, like, I was already expecting a lot of the stuff that's in college now?
Yeah, so honestly, I would say it was a culture shock only because it was probably since it was dead center of COVID. And so when we got there, it was like we all starting the quarantine stuff and everything. So we got there, it was the football players. We stayed in our own dorm that we had that they set apart for us, and then we had to move dorms. Honestly, going into fall to be away from like general population, and so our whole schedule at that point was literally wake up for morning workout, so 6 7 a.m. whatever time you had to be in. Wake up, you come back. We go to the dining hall. We used to get these to go boxes they gave us. Um, put all our food in the to go box, come back to our dorm, and we would all just kind of eat in the common area. And that's how we got to get to know each other. Since we didn't have like classes or this, that, and the thing to go to, we just would have to go online classes. But we would come back and we would eat breakfast and everything together. Then we would go to our rooms, do whatever online class you had, or and then get back up and you go back to practice if we had practice that day. And so really all I knew was the facility and my dorm. And so that's kind of how I learned football. Honestly, I didn't have much else to do. Like that was everything. You know, people say like, you know, I'm going to school and I'm focusing. Da, da, da. This and for me, kind of like it was forced upon me. Although I did have fun, but I also was able to lock in and learn everything I needed to learn with the playbook and all that because that's completely serious. Because in high school, you know, you get told, you know, you blocking right, you blocking left, but you know, in college, you got to understand everybody's job and how the plays work and how everything come together. And so I think COVID was a blessing in disguise, just being able to come in with minimal distractions. And I really was able to gel right away. I wasn't really a stranger to the work because, like I said, we got work the same way in high school, and so it was really it was just kind of navigating COVID and like a new area, a new scenery, and a new football and how their program works. Um, especially you know being so young and coming into school.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely how it is, especially just wanting to learn your playbook. And a lot of times it's different in high school versus college, especially with the playbook. You can be in high school playing one coverage, and then when you get to college, it's completely different. It's still that coverage, but you're doing a whole lot of other stuff. And then, from high school, it could be like you were saying, block left, block right, block this person. College, it's like, okay, you're going to block this person, you're going to chip them, then you're going to get up to the second level, then do this, and then do that. So it's like, it can be a lot for sure. You also had a viral moment that happened during your time at Ohio University where during one of the games, I forgot who y'all were playing against, but you were lined up at receiver and it looked like one of those distraction plays. And it's like, who is this lining up at receiver? Who's this big lineman lining up at receiver? And when the play starts, you start doing your stroll from your fraternity. And it went viral and everybody saw it. I think they even talked about it on different college football shows and everything like that. So what was that like for you, just seeing that go viral?
It was hilarious. That play we put that play in week one, but we hadn't ran it. We was playing Akron. It was our last game of the year before going into postseason. And when we called it, I knew I was going viral before it even happened. And like with the play, they ran it before, but the guys back then they did like a cartwheel, and like when we was in practice, they like do a cartwheel or something. I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do a cartwheel. They was like dance, like do the gritty or something. I'm like, whatever, like, since I'm not gonna do all that, I actually can do something though. And so root to the good bros, Omega South Five Fraternity Incorporated. But it was a whole lot of fun, honestly. I was on the field. I didn't really care too much about nothing else once the play was called. I was able to get the lineup at wide receiver a little bit, and then I just did my thing, and I knew once it was over, I'm gonna see this right after, and it was everywhere. I got on my phone, and my phone just blowing up. It's on every page, every platform. It was a lot of fun though.
Yeah, facts. A lot of people were seeing it, a lot of jokes, and it was funny. It was a cool viral moment, definitely. You also transferred to Rutgers University. So, what went into that decision transferring there, and what was your experience like there?
And transferring, my original reason for transferring, I have played a lot of snaps. So it's been coming to school. Our COVID season, we only had 3 games, so they ended up canceling the season, but they reinstated it pretty late. I got to play in one of the last games, in the last game actually of that year, and then the next year I got to rotate from game 4 on. I got to rotate every series, and so I had a lot of snaps, a lot of minutes, pretty much like starter minutes. I just didn't, start the game out. And then the 2 years after that, I started, and I was playing really well. And so for me, I just decided to take my shot on myself. Obviously I knew I was playing pretty well, and I knew I could, compete with anybody because I'll never run from competition. And so I decided, take my shot and hit the portal. My goal was to go up and go to a P5 school. Get that exposure. That stage to be able to play on. That every kid dreams of. And honestly, it was a very, how would I put this? A year of learning, a year of learning me myself, and a lot of new things. And I went there. I gave my time and I put the work in and everything that I needed to do. And I had fun there. And I got to meet some new guys, meet a new place, see how P4 programs work and all of the resources that they get. And it was amazing. Just going from on the visit, being able to see they have a cafeteria on the third floor that's for football only, and it's top tier food every day. And it's like, you go downstairs and you have a room full of seats that can recline, and they all got a Normatec, and being able to have refrigerators with protein, or you need a shake, you have something going on, you need to lose, you need to gain, having people be able to make actual protein shakes for you, things like that. It was just really, honestly, a surreal experience, because you don't understand. When you go, you'll see friends or other people go off to like a P5 school, and they'll come back home, and that first time they come back home, you like, who is that? Like, they got big, they got huge, and going, I'm like, okay, I get it now. I understand how that happened. I understand how that body changed, because my body changed the same way. I got a lot bigger, and got stronger as well. And it was a lot of, it was a fun time though. I had a good time.
Definitely, definitely. What would you say was the best game that you've had in college throughout your college football career?
That is a hard question. My best game, I would say, I would choose between this past year of Eastern Michigan, Miami of Ohio, and Buffalo. I think I had three really solid games. And NIU, my senior night, I had really solid games. Had great production, in my opinion. And I just felt so good and energized in those games. And relying on my techniques, and being able, especially coming out with wins in those games, it was just a whole lot of fun. Being able to go back on the film and watch and see, like, I made this play work, or you know man, I dominated on this pass block rep. And even if like something didn't matter, like, I'm blocking something away from the play and I'm still blocking well, it was a lot of fun to be able to go back and see those plays, and see how dominant of a performance that I can have.
Now, you transferred back to Ohio University, so what led you to coming back and finishing out your college football career and academic career there?
For me, it was really, honestly, a full circle moment when I got back in the portal. I had interest and looks from, different places, but in Ohio, especially coming back for my senior year, knowing it's going to be my last year, I didn't want to take the chance on having, go in and prove yourself to another coaching staff, and having to redo and rego, everybody process that you get to. If as a collegiate athlete, that you go in, you have to, essentially, you do have to prove yourself, because nobody's just going to throw you out there. Like, you have to show that you can do what they brought you here to do. Um, and so, in going back, I knew that I was going to still have that same coaching staff, that same culture, around me. I knew some of the guys that were still going to be there. I knew the playbook. And I also, when I first transferred, my chemistry degree, I came here studying chemistry, and I had to leave that on the table the first time I transferred. And so, in coming back, the mix between the football, having the same, the coaching staff, the culture, the players, and also being able to finish my degree out and have two degrees, since I graduated from Rutgers as well, and coming back, being able to get a second degree in chemistry, I thought it was plain as day. Like, this is the greatest full package that I would have, right now. And I came back, and I think it was a great decision. I had so much fun, enjoyed this game, enjoyed this last season with my guys, and it was a lot of fun.
You also recently declared for the 2026 NFL Draft. So, how has that whole process been like for you, getting ready for the draft and talking to different scouts and GMs and agents and just the whole thing?
It was pretty fun. Throughout the year, throughout the season, coaches come in, coaches, scouts come by. Being able to talk to those guys, as as you going through it. It's an excitement. It adds an excitement and a little bit of fire to you, just because it's like, your dreams are right there in front of you. Like, these guys are obviously coming to talk to you, guys, to me, and other teammates, because they see that potential. They see that, possibly you can go and play in that next level. And you're showing that through your size, your strength, your gameplay, whatever you're doing something right for them to be able to come see you. And so, honestly, it's been an exciting journey. Obviously, you go through things like, it's a process with finding agents and stuff like that, but the most important part is the work. And with training for the draft, or training for the pro days and things like that, you have to be so intentional with what you're doing, especially when you're actually doing your work, because that's what separates you from everybody else that you getting thrown into a pool. It's the same way it's coming out of high school. It's a bunch of high school athletes, and we all fighting for those same spots in college. It's the same way. I'm fighting for the same spots. It's what 32 teams, 53 people on each roster. That's not a lot of people compared to what's going into the pool. So it's just been fun. Work the guys that I'm working out with. It's been a great time, but it's been great work as well. And I can't really ask for too much more because I'm blessed to be in the position I'm in. And I wake up every day, motivated and ready to go because like I said, your dreams are right in front of you, and the only thing that can stop you is you. And so when I go in every day, and I think that's the most important part that people don't really understand or realize, that things don't happen by chance, especially getting to a professional level in sports. And so I'm just doing my best to not leave anything up to chance. Work as hard as I can so that when the time comes, I can showcase my talents and let everything else go from there. But I know I'm controlling everything I can control.
Absolutely. What are some things that you've been hearing from different scouts and general managers and such so far?
Personally, just working through agents and stuff. They like my size and everything. Um, they like how I'm able to perform. It's obviously always skepticism about guys that transfer this and the third, but I know that I performed really well, and I know that they can see that as well on film. And so just they obviously want to see pro day numbers and how that goes, but it's been something that I can look up to.
For sure, definitely. And then a lot of the times people say it's not necessarily where you get picked, but what team and what situation you get, picked to. And especially if it's a good situation for you to be in and really develop into an even better player, sometimes that can be seen as more, I guess, more ideal than just going into a bad situation off the rip.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is definitely something that your eye they bring your eyes to. It's the same. Like I said, your whole thing of coming to college is you want to play. You want to get on the field as soon as possible. It's the same with the NFL. In my mind, people will say like, "I'll never go play for this person. I'll never go play for the Browns, or I'll never go play for another team." This, that, and the third. But for me, I get a shot to play anywhere, I'm gonna take it. You know what I'm saying? And so, once you get for me, that's how I'm viewing it. Like I get a shot anywhere, I'm gonna take it. And obviously that situation thing definitely plays a big part because, obviously as a young guy, you don't want to go into a place that has three, four other young guys in that same spot in front of you ready to fill those. And they've been there, they've got that experience. But you go through and say you got an older guy leaving, they need, that area of need is a position that you play, then obviously that would be such a much better situation for you because you never know, especially at the line position, linemen go down so often. It's not something you ever want to happen, but it's inevitable of the game that both offense and defensive linemen go down. So being able to stay prepared, in a place that you will be able to get developed, like that's the most important part, is developing your game, because at that level everybody's talented, everybody got it. And so what are you doing to polish your game? What are you doing to develop it to make it even better? And so I think that would be something that's very helpful, having a situation where you can go to a place that develops people very well. And also having somebody either, that spot is vacant, or somebody's on the way out, and you got time to develop, but you also got time to play.
Do you have a preference on where you get picked or signed to or anything, or does it matter?
Ultimately, it doesn't matter. But my favorite team is the Seattle Seahawks, and I've dreamed of playing for them for a long time. Like I would love to play for Seattle. I would love to, play Tampa Bay back home. I was born in St. Pete, Florida. Being able to that close to home, my family be able to come out, watch and enjoy us. I'm not, opposed to a place like, the Chargers or San Fran. Somewhere that's like California, that's cool. That weather's nice pretty much year round, like things like that. But ultimately, like I said, whatever shot I get, I'm gonna take. But Seattle would be my main thought, my main goal, just because it's been my favorite team for so long, and it's a dream of mine to play in a stadium like that, especially with the 12th man. I just know that atmosphere is amazing.
For sure. And they're in the Super Bowl now, coming up this weekend. So that'll definitely be exciting to see.
For sure.
Um, who do you have winning the Super Bowl?
Seattle for sure. I need my ones back from the time that they decided not to run Marshawn Lynch on the one. I just feel like it was due time, and we finally got it back, and so I'm really banking on us to win this one.
Hey, 10 years later, 10, 11 years later, here they go. Now they got another chance.
For sure.
Do you have a favorite offensive lineman in the NFL currently?
I like to watch Panay Sewell. Um, he's an amazing lineman in my opinion. He's a dog. He's super athletic. He just moves amazingly, and he's just a dominant blocker. If I had somebody to want to be able to play like it be playing like that. It's just when you see that running back core be able to do so well, um, you see a lot of his blocks in those plays, and it's just like, man, being able to be an impact blocker for any team, especially a team with a good run game. It would be amazing, and it's really nice to see somebody be able to, that plays. He plays smart, but he plays aggressive, and he plays great. He has great hands, extremely athletic, and he got that don't quit mentality, and so it's just real fun watching him play.
What are some goals that you have for this whole process as far as going to the NFL and just the whole, process with pro days, talking to coaches and scouts and everything? What is the ultimate, I guess, goal that you want to get from all this?
My ultimate thing is, being able to grow as a man. I do feel like that's one of the most important things. Even though, because at some point the ball stopped rolling for everybody. And so going through like interviews and talking to everybody and talking to different coaches, different players, different agents or whatever you're doing, being able to polish those skills, being able to talk to people, because you're gonna need those in the business side of, and in the business world. When the ball stop rolling, what can you do? What can you produce? But also, just showing myself that no matter what, your dream is there. Like I said, and being able to look back no matter what and be satisfied with the work that I put in. That's what my big like one two of my those are my two biggest goals. Being able to look back on this time and know that I didn't squander it. That no matter what happens, I gave it my best shot, and that at the end of it, I'm a better man than I started. Whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, and being able to just carry myself in a way that will be able to set myself up to be able to support myself and the family. Later down the line.
You grew up a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, right? Being from Florida, 813. So imagine that you play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers protecting Baker Mayfield.
That would be fun. I see everybody see Baker, especially following him in college and through the pros. Man, that's a guy that has such great energy. I think he really brings a team up around him, and it'd be amazing, being able to play for a block for a quarterback like that. Because you got guys that'll put it on the line and lead the team. It just makes you want it that much more. You want to protect that guy. You take pride in that because that guy's going to produce. That guy's going. If you do your job, that guy's going to get it done. And so being able to do that in a place that I could do with family around and things like that, that would be an amazing experience.
Have you talked to other NFL players and just people going through that whole pre-draft process about everything? And what's some advice that they've given you so far?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple. Obviously, with Keaton, Keaton. He in the NFL. That's somebody I can reach out to, be able to talk to. I've have some cousins that's been through it. A couple of teammates that's gone that's been through it or is, still trying their shot. And for me, the biggest pieces of advice that I've really harped on is one, making sure you're not being screwed over. It's a lot of times people get into places or chase that tag, that name to fame or whatever, and it's not what you need. Is you need somebody that's on your team. You need somebody that's got your back, like your brother would. And so, and two, like I said, the work. That's something been told to me, like it don't get no easier. Obviously, going to play against grown men, and we grown men, being able to play against somebody that's, excuse me, 7, 8, 9 year veterans. What matters is the intentional details. Did you take, if you had to take a 6 inch step, are you practicing a 6 inch step, or are you practicing a 9 inch step? Like, where do you how are you paying attention to your details? And I think that's the one of the biggest things that they've let me know, is that no matter what, your work can't change. No matter what's going on, like, your work has to be that decisive, that um discipline, intense, intentional training. Like, that's how you have to come at it, because like you said, like, how you practice is how you play. I feel like all athletes hear that, but it is real, because those things, when you're in a game, or in those types of situations, they become second nature. Things you're doing, you don't think about. And if you're doing it and practicing it wrong over and over again, in the heat of the moment, you may want to do it right, but your body, your muscle memory is going to do it the way you've been practicing it. And so, just being able to, before, obviously getting ready and preparing, just taking the time to make sure everything I'm doing is intentional, and practicing for what I'm trying to face, not for where I've been, but where I'm trying to go.
Definitely. And is there a edge rusher or a defensive lineman in the NFL that you watch, and have you ever thought like, okay, I think it would be a pretty good matchup between me and them or anything like that?
Man, it's the competitive nature in me. I love to have a game against Aiden Hutchinson, or Will Anderson. I grew up with him. We played rec football and basketball, all that together. Being able to, seeing him and how hard he plays and how he comes off the edge. I want to be a great. I want to be able to block those great players as well. So I think going back and forth, especially if playing somebody like Will, a childhood bond is there as well. So that would be fun going against a brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's somebody that we were the iron that sharpened iron for a long time for each other. And so being able to do it on that stage as well would be a whole lot of fun.
Speaking of brothers, your brother Malachi is a pretty good basketball player as well, very athletic, and he played basketball at Elka for a little bit, and then he transferred to Wheeler, I believe, and then he played college ball a little bit after that also. Who's the better athlete between the two of you?
Um, Depending on what we're doing, honestly. All around, though, I'll probably give it to him. I learned a lot of what I do from him, and I can't not credit him for that. But he's a great athlete, but I know I got him on the strength side in the weight room, just because the nature of my position and what I do. So I have to be a strong guy, but he a little faster than me. He jump a little higher than me. But overall, I think we both really good athletes, and it's also a lot of fun because he's a competitor too. Like, that's where I get all my competitive nature from. He taught me how to be a competitor, and so whenever we be able to do something where we playing, like, things usually never stay friendly. Like, when we doing something, we going at it. We trying to play the best. We trying to beat each other. That's bragging rights. But I say, like, overall, with speed and jumping and whatever, he got that. But I think we both some pretty high caliber athletes.
Do you think you would do a better job going into his sport and playing than he would going into your sport and playing? So you go to basketball. Do you think a transition for you from football to basketball would go better than his transition from basketball to football would be?
Um, See, that's the thing. We both grew up playing both, and so I don't think it'd be hard for either of us. Naturally, like, I'm a pretty good hooper. I took the football route, and to be honest, because I didn't like to run that much. They run all game for not for however long, what, for 60 minutes. They just running back and forth, back and forth. But I do think that he played quarterback, so I think, obviously with how the game progresses, it wouldn't be hard. I don't think for either one of us. I think we both would be able to put in that work to be able to succeed at the level we want to. Um, it might be harder for him just because of his position, having to read defenses and whatnot. And, for me, I understand the game of basketball. It don't really change too much. You got different sets and that, but at the end of the day, score the ball, put the ball in the bucket. That's the end of the day. So I think it'd probably be a little bit easier for me to transition over to basketball. but I think it'd be pretty seamless for both of us.
Is there someone in the NFL that you sort of model your game after right now, or is there somebody that you've been just watching a lot of film on?
It's I stay probably putting it still. It's just when you, especially when you've played for so long, you start to, even when you watching casually, you watch, you gravitate to what you know, like you gravitate to the watching a position, like how did this double team look, and how did oh, that was a six spin move he just put on the tackle, or you're just getting to watch those games. But I think my eyes been trained a bit to be able, and I naturally gravitate towards the linemen. See how they're performing. A lot of people don't look at that. A lot of people like watching the running backs, they watching the quarterbacks, the receivers. But I gravitate to the line, and that's somebody that I try to model my play after.
I mean, even for me, it's hard to watch a football game and not point anything out. Like
Yeah,
I cannot sit still and watch a game at all. I remember watching the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles, the first time, not the most recent one, and they threw a back shoulder fade to AJ Brown, and I'm like, okay, well, look, it has to be like this. That's not a pass interference because of this and this and this. Or if
yeah,
I'm watching a game, I'm like, okay, well, is this coverage and the QB was reading this, or why didn't he do this? And I'm like tapping on the TV, rewinding and all that stuff, and it's like it's just kind of difficult not to just critique
yeah.
everything that you see
You
when it
caught
comes to
up in
football.
it. Like you know that when you know the intricacies of the game, you take a pride and a joy in knowing it, and like being able to see it even on whatever stage it is. Like if you can point it out at the best of the best, like that only makes you so much better where you are. And so it's hard not to get caught up in the game. It becomes watching film more than it is watching the game. So but it's still fun though.
I want to go back to Elka a little bit because you did mention Keaton Mitchell, and he does play for the Baltimore Ravens right now. So, how's it been for you just seeing him and having that success in the NFL so far?
Man, honestly, it's been a lot of fun watching him, man. Since I knew we all knew he was special, especially in high school. That's one of my favorite people I've blocked for to this day. And man, that he gonna get that's another person. Like you block, he gonna get the job. It's gonna be done. That job gonna get done. But honestly, I just been proud to be able to see him. Be able to do his thing. It's a lot of fun being able to watch somebody that you knew, that you played next to, a brother. And be able to go and do that dream, see their dreams come true, and it also is a motivator for me because I'm knowing that my dream could come true too. Like that's somebody I know, like you said, Will Anderson, Justin Iboigi, he's a linebacker, Keaton, like those are guys that I grew up with, like that I know, and I know the work we all put in. I just know that it's possible for me too, and it's just a motivator as well. Because one day I like to be able either block for him again or walk across the field and shake his hand, and be like, "What's up, bro?" Like we both did it, we both made it. It's just been a lot of fun. I pray he has a long and an amazing career. I know he's on track for it, but it's been a lot of fun watching him play.
One thing that I've noticed about Keaton is his humility as well. Not just like in high school, but throughout college and now. And I believe now this was after I had graduated because y'all are younger than I am, but I believe there was a game where Elka was about to score a touchdown, and Keaton was like, you know what? Go ahead and let Josh Rogers or somebody score. You can give the ball to them. You can take me out. Game's over with anyway because blowouts on top of blowouts. So like it doesn't really matter type of thing. So I believe that happened, and just like and just stuff like that, and just seeing him in the league now, interacting with the fans and everything. It's been really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool for sure. Like and like I said, like that's another reason like you enjoy playing against guys, playing with guys like that so much because like I said, it's easy when a player is good, to go out there do a job. But when you know the type of person a player is, it makes you want it that much more for them. Like I'm gonna block my butt off for them so they can go shine. I'm gonna go handle my business because they deserve it as well. And so I know if they shine, I'm shining too. And so it's just been a lot of fun. I know like at the end of the day, like Keaton's a great guy. And like you're not gonna get no nasty behavior from him, and then I'm glad to see that just doesn't change. It doesn't matter the status or where you are, and like it doesn't change. Like even if I texted him right now, it'd probably take him like 10 to 15 minutes to hit me back. Like that's he ain't go Hollywood or nothing like that. And so it's just it's been a lot of fun. I'm just happy for him too.
For sure. And back to Elka, since we were all teammates at one point in time, do you think your class of 20, that features like you, Keaton, Justin Robinson, who was at Georgia for a little bit, and then he went to West Virginia, I believe, after that, are y'all the best class football wise to come out of Elka, or is it somebody else?
Man, me off the pride thing, I'm gonna say yeah. Like, I think we had some pretty good athletes, but honestly, being in that environment, I can't lie. That my sophomore year, that team was crazy. That whole team was just like you looked at it, you look back on it, and it's like, man, like I see why people were saying like, oh, they recruit. Nah, like, but we had some huge guys and they was working. Like, we had Tyrese, you had Harrison, you had Nate, Justin Bernard, like all these guys. It's just doing their thing, and like I guess what we got 3 points scored on us the whole postseason, I think that year,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, and it was like in the championship game, I believe 3 points, and it was because they got the ball on like the 40 and they still didn't get very far. And so they had to settle for a field goal. But that was a pretty stacked team right there. But off the prize strength, I think we got everybody.
Mhm. For sure. And one thing that I always thought was kind of funny about that 2019 team at Elka y'all senior year was that was the same year that LSU was really hyped. So whenever y'all would score a touchdown, I see y'all dancing and doing gritties and whatever else going on too. And so I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was pretty turd. That was a real fun year.
For sure. Well, Cedric, thank you so much for joining the show again. And where can they follow you on social media?
Instagram is at yfn.shed. Twitter is at shed junior 4.
Yes, sir. That's that. Well, folks, hope y'all enjoyed the show, enjoyed the episode. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BJT underscore era. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. When you subscribe, click the notification bell. And like I always say, hope you have a good one. Peace out.
Peace.